Hey there, guys. Welcome to the Crazy Blood Show. And it's Monday. That means you're going to be meeting a master mom. This mom is amazing, but there was a time in her life when that's the last thing she thought about herself. She was not just struggling with depression, she was living in a house she couldn't even walk around, lying in a bed she couldn't get out of. And something changed one day that affected her entire life. You are going to want to hear Akeisha's story right here inside the Crazy Blood Show. Akeisha, I'm so excited you're here on Master Mom Monday. I tell you, when I think about women who are mastering their life, you're at the top of the list. I'm so excited about your story. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to all of our listeners and our viewers.
My name is Akeisha. I have three boys, one of which my oldest is actually my stepson. I tell people he's not mine by blood, but he is mine through sweat and tears.
Ruth, preach, girl, preach.
So he actually is old enough. He doesn't live with us anymore, but my younger ones, oh goodness, they are 9 and 12 now, and they keep me on my toes. They're boys, they're kids, they do
I remember when they were tiny, girl.
I know. It's crazy. They grow up so fast.
Right.
Husband and I have been married for 15 years-ish, something like that. So I've been in MMU for, goodness, almost 5 years, I think.
Yeah, you got in and you did not look back. Your story is so incredible. So I want to talk about your story because it's so unique, and and I don't know if you know this, but your testimony came to me at a time when God knew I needed it. I was so frustrated trying to grow a coaching platform that would help moms. And when your testimony came through, I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm not stopping. Like this, if Akeisha's the only person whose life has changed, 100% worth it. And so God used you. I don't know if you know, but God used you to dramatically affect my life. So I wanted to share your story with all of my friends here on the Crazy Bless Show. But let's rewind and tell me a bit about what your life was like before MMU, before we ever met.
It was awful. I mean, I say that, but really, I had a really good life. It was just the mindset that surrounded it. I was depressed, awful. It was really bad. I had moments where even when my kids were really, really, really little, like I can remember holding my oldest when he was like 2 months old, going, okay, I gave birth to this child. I'm supposed to love this child, but I felt nothing. Absolutely no emotions whatsoever. And I knew I was going through postpartum depression, but I was like, this just felt like so much worse. It was just awful. So I went through the whole postpartum depression thing. And once I finally got out of that, it was just like one thing after another. And I can remember days where I would be driving down the road and pull up beside a semi and go, Lord, if you could just make this semi swerve my direction, that would just be great. Because I'm going to tear up trying to tell you this, because I knew that my kids and my husband, or I shouldn't say I knew, I felt like my kids and my husband were better off without me. That was just the life that I lived. It was awful. I had no relationship with my children whatsoever. I yelled constantly. Like, I don't think a day went by that I didn't scream at them for some reason or another. And it was awful. They were terrified of me. It was awful.
And if I remember correctly, you were struggling with MS to where you couldn't even walk. And
I barely walk, couldn't work. Yeah, and that was part of the depression, part of why I felt like my kids and my husband would be better off without me, because then he could go on and marry someone who could help out financially and who could take care of the kids. And, all of those feelings that go along with, I'm just this pile of nothing right now because I can't do anything. It was just awful. Like, I couldn't get up and walk into the kitchen and make my kids a meal because I didn't have the physical ability to do so. And I'm looking at these kids who were, oh goodness, 2 and 4 when I was diagnosed. And I'm like, somebody else has to take care of them because I can't. I physically could not.
And they were raising themselves.
They were, yeah. Then I think he was 4. I'm trying to remember years. I'm not great with dates. But yeah, my then 4-year-old would get up and make himself breakfast and make his little brother breakfast while I laid in bed. And I'd get up and walk into the living room and they were sitting and watching TV and eating breakfast. And I was like, my kids deserve better. So it was awful.
Well, so here's where you were, and you were struggling physically, emotionally. We won't even talk about spiritually. Like you couldn't even like make it through the day, and you were just like, my kids be better off. Your kids are raising themselves. You're two precious little boys, no emotion toward them. When did all this change? Like, when did you find out about Mom Master University? What was the day? Tell me about it, if you remember.
So I actually heard about you through the Crazy Blessed Bible Study, and I started listening to that on a weekly basis. I think you did it every Tuesday then. And I listened. I was very like, Hannah's on, I'm doing this. So I was very good about hopping on every Tuesday and listening to it. And then I think MMU came up at some point, and I decided, you know, the Crazy Blessed Bible Study made sense to me, and it was helping a little bit. Like there was a light, and I was like, okay, maybe this MMU thing is what I need to do to take it a step further. So I talked to my husband, and of course, he's always been extremely supportive of everything. He's an angel. Like, I honestly don't know, like the only reason we got through what we went through was because of him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just one of those people that he's just never been unsupportive of me, and he's just amazing. So when I was like, it's, you know, here's how much it's going to cost, and he's like, I don't care if we have no money in the account, like, you need to do this. So I did. And I want to say, it was probably 4 months later, you started Mom Boot Camp. And I was part of the very first group that went through Mom Boot Camp. And that was crazy. It was like twice a week for an hour, for 2 hours for videos. I mean, it was
that
like
was intense.
jam-packed.
Like,
it was crazy.
That wasn't.
It was very intense
program. It totally was.
Yes,
that was deep.
It really was. But I think we were, and it was supposed to be for 1 month. It was like 2 videos twice a week, and it was just in 1 month. And it was 3 weeks in, 3.5 weeks in, something like that. And my kids had come home from school, or my oldest had come home from school, and I'd walked into the kitchen, was walking by then. Walked into the kitchen. Yeah, praise the Lord, because man, there were days. I walked into the kitchen, and my youngest, who would have been probably 4 at this time, 3.5 to 4, he goes, hey, Mom, can I have a drink? And I said, yeah, honey, come over here. I'll pour you a drink. So I poured him a glass of milk, and I handed it to him. And he goes, thanks, Mom. You're my new mom. And at the time, like, it didn't click. I just went, well, sweetheart, I've always been your mom. Like, in your whole 4 years of life, it's always been me, you know? And he goes, I'm like, oh. He goes, yeah, but Mom, you're nice now. My 4-year-old, guys, I knew that my life sucked, like, in my brain. Like, it was hard for me to handle the depression and all of the stuff that went with it. I had no idea how bad it was for my kids, even at just 4 years old. I had no idea, no clue. And when he told me that, man, I mean, the tears, I was like, I'm so sorry, baby. You know, it's just like, oh my gosh. I mean, I just started bawling, and I was like, man, that is something when your 4-year-old realizes there's a difference.
Yeah. And when you shared that story with me, that was like, I probably bawled as hard as you bawled. I'm like, oh my gosh. Because that was the day I realized, wait, God, you're doing something through me. No, I'm not doing this. You're doing something through me to impact moms everywhere, to change their lives, to change the history, their genealogy, the impact they're making on their children. Absolutely. And yeah, we have cried many a tear over that story, my friend, many a tear, because the impact.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. We're not just talking about impacting moms. We're talking about impacting kids and grandkids. And, you know, who knows how far this is going to go. You know, I mean, it's crazy to think about.
And I think that's one reason why moms are so targeted by the enemy, because
Absolutely.
they don't even realize how powerful and influential they are. Like moms have so much power to affect future generations. Of course, we're going to be targeted by the
Absolutely.
enemy. We're going to be targeted with physical problems
Mhm.
like MS. We're going to be targeted with emotional problems. We're going to be targeted with depression, anxiety, all the things, and then think it's our fault
Mhm.
only because we have not discovered a strategy that works with the way our brain is wired. And so once you got started in this, like all of a sudden, like, weeks later, your kids are noticing the difference. So what is it like now? Like paint a picture now of where your life has come in the past few years. Like you're a lifer inside Image. You're like
I
in for
am.
life,
I'm not
baby.
going anywhere. I am. I mean, I'll be honest, we still have our bad days. Everybody does, but being given the tools to, like, say I wake up in a bad mood and suddenly everybody else is in a bad mood because, as you say, the mom is the thermostat, so we have to like figure out how to get ourselves out of this funk. I now have those tools to flip that and make it a good day. I mean, I do. My 12-year-old, who I had no relationship with at like 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, he now comes home from school and he's like, Mom, can I tell you about my day? Absolutely. I would, and he'll sit and talk for like an hour and a half about his day from, I mean, everything. Like, this went wrong, that didn't happen, or this, like, this was awesome, this person said that, and it made me feel, I mean, like, every little detail, he will come home and we'll have a full conversation about it. And I'm talking about a child I had zero relationship with just not too long ago.
Yeah, like it wasn't too long ago that
No.
you were looking at your kids and you're thinking, I don't like. I remember you telling me like I don't want to be with them.
No, I didn't. Mm-mm.
And they don't want to be with you.
Nope, they didn't. And why would they? Why would
Right?
they? I was like, I don't want to be around myself, much less anybody else around me. So, I it was just, yeah, it's been huge. We
Yeah.
have fun now, and I didn't even know the meaning of that word before.
Wow. Tell us about fun. Like because a lot of moms think that, oh well, that's not possible. Like it's too
Oh,
hard.
it's
Like I gotta
totally
get
possible.
serious. I gotta get to work here. I gotta get my life in shape. But we forget about fun.
Oh yeah. And that's really what our kids need. I mean, our kids need to know it's okay to be a kid. It's okay to have fun. And it's even okay for you to have fun when you're 19, 20, 25, 30, 80 years old. It's okay. And a lot of my fun comes from just the little things. Like, we'll turn on the Pandora and crank up the music and have a dance party. We'll have a pizza party, or you know what I mean? Just like sometimes just really silly little things that we just kind of weave into our day. And it's just,
So
yeah.
this is powerful. I think one thing that you really embody, and I see this like with a lot of moms who they get plugged in. I think that one powerful thing that you discovered is the power of commitment, of just saying, you know what, I don't like where I am. This is frustrating, this is overwhelming, but I can just do this. And that power of saying I'm committed and not even knowing what the result's going to be. It's like I'm just going to plug in.
Yep.
And that simple process of just being committed enough to daily, like I'm just going to plug in, I'm just going to do the process, because Hannah says this crazy thing about if I just do the process, if I just plug in,
Yep.
it's going to work. And you trusted yourself and the process enough to work it. And that says so much. And that's how you got the results. That's how you have the fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is so true. Yeah, I think there was one point that I even said something to my husband about, like, I don't see the results. I don't see it. And he was like, you may not see it, but we see it. And that is enough that you're not stopping.
Mhm.
I mean, there was a time that I was just like, I mean, it was very, very early, that I was just like, nothing is changing, nothing is clicking, nothing is happening. And my husband went, stop, something is changing, something is clicking, something is happening. And then to realize that even my 4-year-old realized that was just like, okay, this is legit. This is the real deal. This is where I'm supposed to be right now. So,
oh, this is supposed to be where, this is where I'm supposed to be right now. Like that idea right there is enough to keep you going, because it's true. When you're in the process, like it's one thing to say yes, like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to say yes. And then another thing to say, okay, now that I said yes, I'm just going to commit to the process. I'm going to trust the process, even though I feel like nothing's changing. Because the thing about Mom Master University is we work on the wiring of the mom brain. So things are happening down in your subconscious to rewire your belief system. So all of a sudden it's like, now you get like 3 months down the road, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I reacted totally different to that situation than I normally would have. But if you're just willing to commit and trust the process, it always works.
absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
So,
and sometimes it's just those little bitty things. I have talked with people many times about, dealing with depression and how to get through. And I will always tell them, find one thing. I don't care what it is. I don't care if, like, say your house is just a total disaster, because mine was, you couldn't walk through my house. Like, it was awful. It was so bad. But then it was like, okay, for me, it was to make my bed. If I make my bed, I have done the one thing that I am required to do, even if I do nothing else the rest of the day. Nothing else. And that's going to be different for everybody. For some people, it's going to be like, I have this side table that's always messy, and if I can just get it clean and keep it clean, then that's my thing. And there were days where I would have really bad days, and I'd walk into my bedroom and realize my bed was not made.
right?
So I would go make the bed.
That's
and it's
so
just that little bitty thing. It sounds so ridiculous, but when you just commit to that one little thing, man, a match can light an entire forest on fire. I mean, it absolutely can. So if you can commit to whatever that one thing is, and like I said, it's different for me than it is for, anybody else or whoever, but just that one thing and being committed to it and being willing to do the repetitive craziness, nonsense, whatever you want to call it, that little bitty thing can change your whole world.
Well, that's why it's so powerful that we work with those 4 neural shifts with the mom brain inside MMU. And one of those is habit stacking. And so that's why we do those little, like, hey, just this week, these 2 weeks, this is the one habit we're going to work on. And some people think, oh, well, that's not enough, like making my bed every day or drinking water every day. It's like, wait, just trust the process. And when you start getting, okay, now I've got that habit, it becomes a routine. Now that habit becomes routine. So while you're plugging into all of the learning and the growing, you're subconsciously wiring these little habits into your subconscious. You're wiring it into your belief system. So now it's just like, wait, this is working. It's almost like putting your personal development and your self-growth as a mom on autopilot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
It's so good. So what would you say to a mom who might be where you were? Maybe she's struggling with depression, or maybe she's in a house that, like, you can't even walk around the house, or maybe she's looking at her kids, she's like, what is wrong with me? I don't even want to be with them. What is wrong with me? And she's thinking about Mom Master University. What would you say to her?
I would say do it. It's definitely worth it. Like I said, it was totally life-changing for me. Absolutely life-changing. And I realized in the process that I was so busy putting fires out for everybody else that I had totally forgotten about myself. And that is so true for so many moms, especially the ones that are very, very anxious and depressed about everything. And how is this going to get done? How's that going to get done? How much stuff on your to-do list is not even yours? Because that was my problem. I had all of this stuff to do for everybody else, and I had completely forgotten about myself. So if you're in that boat, go shave your legs. I know it sounds silly, but when I was in the depths of that depression, I would go a week without even bathing, much less months without shaving my legs. And just that very, very, very small action can be totally like, it can totally change how you think, how you feel about yourself. And so it sounds silly, shave your legs.
No, it doesn't sound silly. It sounds like a shift. That's what it sounds
Yes,
like. And that's
absolutely.
what someone who is in the middle of hardship and they don't see a way out, what you need to do is a shift. And
Mhm.
sometimes that is doing something bold, something unfamiliar, something you've never done before, like investing in yourself. Like you said
Absolutely.
yes to Mom Master University. That was a huge shift.
Yes.
And the critical thing, you trusted the process. You just plugged in, you turned the machine on, and you trusted the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's been, I mean, like you said, I'm a lifer. I'm never going back. So
Well, we're so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I know the community inside Mom Master University is so grateful because we're the most amazing moms. Like I want to hang out with
right.
master moms all day long, right? Where do you find a group like this?
Exactly. I have no idea.
We are
Just an
amazing.
MMU.
Just an MMU. That is so right. But I want to thank you, not just for being here, but for trusting the process, doing the hard thing. And now you're changing generations, not just yours, but you're affecting the whole world. So thank you so much, because I know what happens when you decide, okay, I'm just going to try one more thing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to trust the process. Inevitably, you are going to be blessed like crazy.